The New Path is in some ways my most important book. Not in all ways, there are some that are scriptural and so on. But this is a story of one young man's search for truth. And what makes it, partly what makes it interesting, is that I denied God. I tried to find truth without God. I sought it through physics. I sought it through political systems. I sought it in every way that I could think of, in the arts, in everything, in the beauties of nature. I finally realized that it had to be God. And I remember one night that I walked out into the night and asked myself, if there is a God, what must he be? And the answer came, he has to be consciousness. Then, if he's consciousness and I'm consciousness, I'm conscious, then I have to be a part of his consciousness. And that means that the more I am in tune with his consciousness, the more open I am to it, the more I can be aware of everything, the better I can do things. Then the purpose of life, I concluded, has to be to seek God. And I was very sincere, very intense about my search for truth. And when I realized that this was the goal, then I said, all right then, I have to spend my life seeking God. And then a doubt came, maybe I'm going crazy. And I tried to escape this thing. I thought, I never read the lives of saints. I didn't know that there was such a thing as a saint. I thought a saint was somebody who patted children on the head and helped little old ladies across the street. But I thought, finally, if I'm going crazy or not, I can't do anything else. And I read Autobiography of a Yogi. I read it by chance. And you know, when you lift one arm to God, he drops two to pick you up. My father had been sent, unnecessarily as it turned out, to Egypt to explore for oil. The very day that I put my mother on the ship, I went uptown and discovered Autobiography of a Yogi. It absolutely changed my life. You could call this book, in a sense, a sequel to that book, because he talks about everyone but himself, really, in a sense. His book is about many saints that he met in India. But my book tells what it was like to live with him. I took the next bus from New York to Los Angeles, 4 days, 4 nights. And the first words I addressed to him were words I never imagined I would ever address to anyone. I said, I want to be your disciple. And he gave me his unconditional love, and he asked me for mine. Then he asked me, in addition, for my unconditional obedience. Well, desperate as I was to be accepted, I had to be honest. And I said, but sir, what if sometime I think you're wrong? And he answered me very frankly. He said, I will never ask anything of you that God himself does not tell me to ask you. And I accepted that. And so I said, I give you my unconditional obedience. He never abused that. Living with him was living with the most perfect human being I have ever met. He was humble, but not in the sense you would normally think. He was not self-effacing. He simply didn't see himself as existing. He only saw himself as a channel for God. And I would look into his eyes, and I would see that there was no ego there. There was the infinite consciousness. But he had such a he was so delightfully human. Every good quality that a human being can have, he had it, I would say, to perfection. He was humble, yes, he had a wonderful sense of humor. He was very wise. He never acted or reacted in any way that was not just perfect. And I have to say that most of the book, and the basic purpose of the book, was to lead the reader to God, to Yogananda, and to Autobiography of a Yogi, and also to help the reader to understand what it was like to live with this great man of God. I was with him for 3.5 years, and they're the most wonderful 3.5 years of my life. I do hope you'll read this book, because I think it will inspire you to seek God.